Can I be honest with you guys? Sometimes I'm a little hesitant to call myself a digital nomad. And that's because the term kind of has some negative connotation around it. And while it's not necessarily 100% true that everyone who's a digital nomad associates with all these negative things, it is true that since the pandemic, there has been a rise in the number of people who work and travel remotely, work remotely and travel the world. And this has caused a shift and resulted in some not so great things happening in some of the communities that digital nomads frequent. Some of these things include overcrowding places. We see this very much so in Bali. There is a huge rise of digital nomads as well as just vacationers and people who go on extended vacations and really just overcrowding the beaches and co-working spaces and restaurants. And it can be a bit of a problem. I can only imagine being someone who lives in Bali and my home just being infiltrated with all of these people. And while their economy is, heavily shifted towards tourism, and that's a big part of it, I think in the last few years it has risen tremendously to where it's not only just part of tourism, but it's kind of, you know, bleeding over into everyday life, which can be a lot to handle as someone who's local to the area. Another reason being a digital nomad gets a bad rep is the strain that's put on the local infrastructure. So this could be seen in the rise of electricity or even in things like housing. Housing is another big one where um, not only is it putting like a strain on what's available, but it's what's available to like tourism and people vacationing there. It's putting a big strain on those who are living there, where not only is there shortages in what's available because you'll have investors knowing that a certain place is a hotspot, and as opposed to just buying one or two units, they'll buy an entire building and set it up for Airbnb. And typically, when this happens, the accommodations are not within the price range for someone who's local to the area. So that can be a big problem, displacing people out of their homes. I mean, I know when I was in Colombia, specifically in Medellin, I would see like different signs with like gringos, go back home. And, some people would vocally express. There were a few like protests that I would witness, or just people, being very vocal about how they were upset being displaced from their homes. And I don't blame them. Like as as a human, I feel like that is it is absolutely their right to want to be able to have access to and afford housing in their home. So it's definitely a big problem. Gentrification is another problem as well because it transforms it transforms spaces in the community, and it really takes away from the culture and the history that are in these neighborhoods and these areas because they're being transformed in order to appeal to non-native customers. And so that can cause a lot of issues. And we've seen this in Spain. Barcelona, the people in Barcelona don't play, and they have started to attack not only digital nomads, but tourists. Like they're just fed up with, their home being, in their eyes, I would see that as being destroyed, right? Because that's not, it's, they're not able to keep the original state of not only what it looks like, but the purpose, whatever the function was for, whether it be like a building or like a restaurant, a certain type of store, those types of things. And yeah, that could be a big deal. Another issue that comes with being a digital nomad is inflated prices. So I don't know if I mentioned before, but often digital nomads are earning more, or typically digital nomads go to places that have a lower cost of living because it just makes for an easier lifestyle. And usually they're earning a lot more or more than what the local currency is. So they're able to spend more. And by spending more, and, de- de- demand, what am I trying to say? Demand is leading supply or influences supply. And so prices get hiked up. Yeah. And so we've seen some of this in Lisbon. I definitely witnessed this in Lisbon because accommodations so expensive, so very expensive. And part of this too is also the housing shortage as well. It's not easy finding a place in Lisbon. And then the place that you do find, finding finding something that is what I would deem as suitable in value to price is also very difficult. But I think inflated prices can really be seen everywhere in Lisbon, even when it comes to like out eating out and just other things. The cost of living has risen because there are people willing to pay that amount. And so, you know, sellers are noticing this and raising up the prices. And then there's also increased crime, which I don't know if we could really blame digital nomads for this, but from a criminal perspective, they see someone who looks like they're not from the area. We already talked about how they're probably earning more, they probably have more money. So ideally, where there are more digital nomads located, you'll have more people sitting around ready to, pickpocket, steal things, run little schemes here and there. And we've seen an uptick in this in Medellin, but not only due to just appearing to have more money, there have been incidences where people will go and flaunt their money and like literally attract these thieves towards them or go out of their way looking for trouble and trouble finds them. And then, and I won't say that's just digital nomads, that is a lot with vacationers and tourism as well. And then the last negative impact is cultural clashes. Digital nomads who go to an environment and don't even attempt to integrate with the local culture, with the type of customs, learning the language, things like that. So, yeah, I don't believe that digital nomads are 100% responsible for everything that I just named. We do impact a lot. That is just a reality of what happens with this new day and age that we're living in, where people can, work from their laptops and live in different places around the world. But I do think the government has like their purpose is to protect their citizens, local citizens. So I do think there needs to be more rules and regulations around what's actually allowed, especially when it comes to Airbnb and housing. But nonetheless, since our presence as digital nomads does have an impact, I do believe it is also our responsibility to help shift the narrative. So, not to leave this video on a note of doom and gloom, I have a few ideas and ways that you can help to contribute to a more positive side of digital nomadism, so that we can make the term a little less daunting. I want to feel proud to say that I'm a digital nomad and it not come with so much negative connotation around it. So first and foremost would be to try frequenting places or at least alternating places that are less popular. So going off the beaten path. Part of the reason I came here to Bolivia is because I knew there weren't a lot of digital nomads or expats here. A lot of people come here to see the nature and do the tourism. So they come to Bolivia, maybe for like a week or so, a week or two at a time, and then they're leaving. So yeah, I came here because it was a less popular spot, and sometimes it's good to just offset some of your destinations throughout the year with some places that aren't as nomad heavy. Another thing is to be mindful of what you consume, whether that's electricity, whether that is just, I don't even know, what else could you consume that would be like over the top? I know I've seen a lot of focus on like saving the environment and like with plastic bags or when you go to the grocery store, instead of always getting plastic bags, especially here in Latin America, like they will constantly just give you plastic bags nonstop. But having your own bag, being environmentally conscious in places that you go, even if it's not your home, it's someone's home. So moving in that mindset. Another one, which is a hard one, I'm literally currently sitting here in one, but it is to avoid Airbnb if possible. Now, when I'm staying places longer term, I do try and stay in places that I can either rent or get a lease with. Like when I was in Vietnam, I had a lease because I was staying there for the full year. It's a little bit harder in situations like these when I can only be here for up to 3 months and then I'm not even in the same city for all 3 months. So I have tried looking at other places. Honestly, outside of Airbnb, some of these other platforms are even more expensive. So it very much does depend on the place. And this is why I say the government does have to step in and help out with some of these issues. But when you can, if possible, try to avoid Airbnb. Another thing would be to research local prices. So if you know anybody who is local to the area, instead of just buying something as soon as you see it, maybe asking around, doing a little bit of price checking to make sure that what you're getting and spending is on par with what everyone else spends, and try to shop local when you can. So opting to go to a local market instead of a grocery store, or maybe trying out a mom and pop restaurant as opposed to a chain that you see. Avoid being flashy. Yeah, that one goes with, I mean, that's for everyone's benefit, yours included, right? Like, don't dress flashy. Try to blend in with the locals if you can. Sometimes it's a little bit hard. I know I've been places where like everybody's wearing jeans, but I'm super hot. So I'm going to put on shorts. I'm just going to have to look like I'm not from here. But if you can, try to blend in with the locals because it will reduce your chance of standing out like a sore thumb and therefore attracting thieves. And of course, not going around like flaunting your money and being excessive. And definitely don't go looking for trouble doing things that you wouldn't do in your own home country. Or if you would do them in your own home country, maybe you just shouldn't be traveling as a nomad. And then lastly would be to try to immerse yourself in the culture, learn the language, volunteer if you can, give back. And that's just a given. It just heightens the experience for you, whether you're traveling, whether you're living abroad, whether you're doing this as a digital nomad. Like, always try to immerse yourself in the local country because that's the whole point of traveling and living somewhere new. So, yes, let me know if any of these resonated with you. Hopefully, this is my little way of trying to make an impact on giving the term digital nomad, shining it in a better light. If you are curious about the digital nomad journey and looking to start one for yourself, I highly recommend starting out with my guide, Beyond the 9 to 5. You can grab it down below. It'll help you to map out some countries that align and also figure out a way that you can work from anywhere using the skills that you already have. All right. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Bye.